Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Raising Our Gifted Children and Building Your Business All in One. You're right here at selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest, LaChelle Adkins. I've had her on here before. She's a gem. She's a woman I don't think that ever sleeps. She has 13 children that she birthed. She has 15 children altogether, and she has 8 kids that she is homeschooling while running a business, while podcasting, and while chasing scorpions in the kitchen. So this is, like, I'm exhausted just hearing about half of her day, never mind the whole of the day. How does she do it? How does she raise her kids, school her kids, run a business, do the podcast, and never mind anything else, like putting food on the table and everything else? And how does she stay sane? Because an awful lot of people right now during this whole COVID thing have chosen to educate their kids at home. And how do you run a business? We're going to go into another lockdown, folks. It's definitely coming. So how do you balance all of this? And I don't know, what she does do is a great deal of humor. She keeps it light, and we're going to be laughing a lot through this show. Just laugh along with us, right, LaChelle?
Absolutely. Well, I just first can't say enough about you, and I am so grateful to have you in my life. And you
Ah,
have
ditto, darling.
definitely, you were one of the first ones that gave me the platform and the opportunity to share my story. So for that, I am eternally grateful
Oh,
to
my
you.
pleasure, my
And
pleasure.
I just surround myself with you all the time. It's like I may not be talking to you every day, but you still have an impact. I watch what you do. I consider you a veteran and a pro in this industry, and you have so much to teach me as I go on my journey. So I'm just honored to be here and to share with your audience. And I'm taking notes, okay? I got a pen and paper to always write down some things that I can implement in my own life.
Oh, bless you, bless you. Yeah, but and the thing is, you're a light, and I love having lights around me. It's I have to, because yes, I do have to say this. The last time we interviewed, I had an asthma attack in the middle of this show, and I have never seen myself have an asthma attack, because normally there isn't a mirror in front of me, and here there is a camera in front of me, and I'm seeing my face contort and my body go like this, and it's like I'm freaked out by what I'm seeing while I'm trying to breathe. And there she just, it's all right, dear, take your time, dear, it's okay. And it's like, I couldn't have asked for a better person for it to happen to if it was going to happen, because he was so calm. And then we just, got my lungs back, and we continued on with the show. And I'm very grateful for your calmness. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I've seen a lot now.
Yeah.
So I've got
Imagine you
that
have.
thing about staying calm down pat. Okay. You have to learn that.
Yes. And I want people to go back to the previous show that we did, because, you talked about, you were a single child, you wanted a lot of children, and you certainly have them, 15 and 13 that you've birthed yourself. And you talked about a couple of times of completely collapsing, trying to be all and do all, and just totally stressing out of it. And from that, how you've learned to manage things and just, compartmentalize, and the amount of structure that you must have to have in your life, yet at the same time you're such a beautiful free spirit. So I don't know how you manage that beautiful spirit and structure at the same time, because that's an incredible balance. But I want people to listen to the first show to hear about your life. But today is about, how do we balance ourselves? I haven't got kids at home. I'm just, working flat out here. You've got kids at home that are chasing scorpions in the kitchen.
Yes.
So how do you
So
do it, love?
true. Yeah. The first thing I think is, like you mentioned, having a sense of humor.
Mm,
This is like a total transition from how I used to be. I was that taskmaster, had this list of things that I had to accomplish in a day. And it didn't leave room for fun, with
Mm,
my kids unless it was scheduled. So if we're going to the park, park time, fun time, laughing is during park time. When we get back home, it's like, okay, we got to do laundry, we got to do whatever. And it's back to this task list. So it was being intentional about the things on the to do list, but, compartmentalizing it to a point to where that only allowed that particular
mm.
experience to happen during that scheduled time, if that makes sense.
A little frozen here. Mhm, mhm. Yeah. I mean, when you've got
And
that many
it's
children,
about
you need a structure.
embracing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you need a structure with all
Yeah,
those kids, right? But if kids need to play, we need to play, laughter needs to happen there because if they can kind of fold the laundry by playing a game and having fun with it, then it's less
right.
of a chore, isn't it?
So true. So true. And I mean, that's whole thing when it comes to teaching them how to clean up in ways that it is teaching them life skills.
Hmm.
We're being responsible. When you have dishes, you would like it if people would bring their plates to the sink so you can wash them rather than everybody leaving a room and you've got 13 dishes to clean up, or you got to go to the table, you got to clean the table off. So just having everybody recognize that you are a part of a team,
Mm.
and it's up to us all to do whatever little bit we can to make that team run smoothly.
That teamwork that they're learning at home is something that they learn now to take with them in every walk of life. We have a group of friends with whatever job or work they do, whatever career they choose to have. The teamwork is invaluable, isn't it? Because it's whenever, I mean, yeah, all right, I'm a solopreneur. I wear all the hats. Haven't found anyone to share them yet. But most of the time, when you go into any form of work, you need to delegate, or it's a question of teamwork, and everybody has their role to play. And learning that teamwork right from the word go is just a beautiful transition for them in anything else that they do in life.
So true. And one of the things about teamwork is recognizing that there is no I in team.
Hmm.
And for me, I was raised totally different than how my kids are. Now, I'm not saying that I had different values or different things like that, but being an only child, I was raised as a high achiever. Do good in school, you're going to get rewarded, get the accolades, be in the
Hmm.
gifted classes. And so it was very performance driven.
Yes.
And as a result of that performance, you would get rewarded. Whereas when you're dealing with the family needs to perform. You
Hmm.
can't really be way ahead and then think you're coming together with the same mission, because some people are moving at different paces and they are doing different things to make that team run smoothly.
Right.
So, I can't say, oh, you're the most important because you're doing the dishes. Whereas the person who's cooking, they have no value.
Right.
So that's the thing to really be able to manage. So to live my life being self responsible, for the things I did, and then coming into this group setting, that was one of the hardest transitions for me, because it was like, one, if you see that your way is successful, then you say, oh, I'm doing this the right way. There is no other option for the way that I think it should be done, because my way is right.
Mm.
So once you're able to lay down that ego of, being right, but thinking about what do you really want to accomplish? Is it a better communication? Is it for us to eat together, comfortably as a family? Really beginning to break down those goals in ways that you begin to really kind of do that inward work and say, isn't it more important to be right, or to
Hmm.
have a nice meal with nobody arguing? You know what I'm saying?
And yeah, I mean, stop throwing the potato around. Yes. um, Yeah, and having that kind of structure where everybody knows their role and everybody works together collectively. You want to go and play, well, everybody clear the table, everybody do their bit. Now it's your free time or homework, whatever, which way you do it. But it's essential when you have such a big family. And even if you are a single child or a parent raising a single child, having them contribute to the chores and understand that I'm not here as your servant.
Right.
We're all in this together. Everybody has a role to play here. And that is very, very important to us having more free time to have fun time. And who says
So
you
true.
can't have fun doing the dishes, or have fun
So
sweeping
true.
the floor? This it's make everything fun and then it's less of a chore.
So true. And, even just, the whole thing, like my kids, whenever they get into the zone of being in the kitchen, it's all about music. So they'll get speakers, like the little Bluetooth stuff. And it's like they got their music going, they're cooking, they're doing the dishes or on this cleaning spree. And it is really figuring out what is it that really gets you motivated,
Yeah.
and to see them know what motivates themselves to do that hard thing or thing, maybe they put it off and they don't really want to do it, but this puts them in a good space to do it. I mean, I'm learning a lot from them to be able
Mm-hmm.
to embrace, accomplishing two tasks at once. If music makes you feel good, then why not do it
Mm-hmm.
to a mundane chore to, enhance that experience, or do self development, which is one of the things I used to be like, I'm always in the kitchen. I'm in here doing this. And then I thought, you know what? Nobody's bothering me. So let me do my podcast. So I put my headphones on, and it's like I am like having conversations with myself and saying, yeah, that's right. And my kids were like, Mom, are you on a call or something? I'm like listening to a podcast, and they're like, okay. Yeah,
And that becomes that example, doesn't it? It's they say monkey see, monkey do. So,
absolutely.
the kids are going to mimic their parents. And so we
Mm-hmm.
have to be very careful, not only what we say, but what we do and how we do it. And, but
So true.
also to own the flawsomeness, that
Yeah.
we're going to make mistakes. And Mom, you said this and you did that. You know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I did. But circumstances have changed and we can't do that right now. Own it.
So true.
Not of because I said so. That does
So
not
true.
build a conversation or trust between a child and parent, does it?
And I think it's really the unrealistic expectation
Hmm.
that we have to pry ourselves away from. So in my case, it's like, I had this ideal, met my husband in college. It was this career path, getting the right job once you graduate from university, and having this family, with the white picket fence and the
Hmm.
dog and the cat. And I had to unlearn that because, that wasn't my reality,
Yes.
right? I was staying home. How did I still feel successful with that? Because what had been imprinted in me all my life was success was having this degree from this university, getting this job, and having a family that looked like this.
Hmm.
So then when my family didn't look like that, it was grasping and trying to figure out, where do I fit in? So when you're able to say and own it, this does not reflect me, my values, or who I am, and let me figure out a way that's comfortable for me to express that, so that my kids don't feel like, well, if I didn't do it mom's way, then I'm not successful,
Right.
or she's not going to honor me if I don't do it her way.
Right.
No. And
Yeah.
this was so profound because I went with my daughter, who she had her son. He's 2 now, but I went with her to she was doing grad school at the time. So all my kids were in school. So I had my youngest one who was here with me. So we flew to Miami. That's where she was at the time. She went through this long process of having the baby. She's in the delivery room. My 4-year-old's there with us at the time. And she was an angel, did good, understood everything. And so it had been hours. And so they came in and they were like, well, we may have to do a C-section, or we might have to induce you, or
Hmm.
something like that. and she was trying to do natural. And so she asked me, she was like, Mom, you know, I really want to have this baby natural, but she was comparing herself to me. I
Right.
said,
Yes.
honey, this is your experience. I said, I am here to support you, whatever you feel comfortable doing. And that really lifted a weight off of her
Yeah.
because she was like, my mom's here. She did it natural. What's wrong with
Yeah.
me? And it was a beautiful thing for
Mhm.
me to really give her permission, that she wasn't given herself to
Right.
have her own experience.
Mhm.
So, how many times do we do that to our kids and find out later on, that they go on this road that they really didn't want to go on because they're trying to follow us?
Right. And yes, you want to be an inspiration to your kids. Yes,
Mhm.
you would love them to learn certain techniques and skills from you, but it's then for them to apply it to their own life, to their own instrument, to their own journey. It's not for them to duplicate you, and
So true.
we see it on the other side where parents push their children to be lawyers, doctors, this and that because they wanted to be. Right.
Right.
Right. And my mum always used to say to me, I'd like you to be an international secretary. And I can't even spell secretary. And it most certainly was not a path for me whatsoever. Um, and the thing is that genetically, there is going to be something in our DNA that is an aptitude from your parents that you have within you. But how you use it
Mhm.
is your life's journey, isn't it? And so, as
So true.
parents, we're custodians of our children, we're guardians of our children. We want to be a good influence, and we want to encourage, and we want people, we want our children to look at us and admire our own journey and be inspired
Mhm.
in confidence to take their journey.
So true. But how often do we forget that?
Yes, while somebody's left the dirty dish on the table and scorpions are
Right.
running around. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's why you do
Or
shows like
yeah,
this to remember, be reminded.
and I think it's so funny because it's like, our kids will ask us advice,
Hmm.
but we want them to do what we tell them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's
Yes.
like, well, mom, I'm really kind of wondering about this friendship that I have with somebody. Well, honey, we get married to the outcomes. So we
Yes.
say, if I were you, I would probably, keep my distance or whatever. Then they go and do the total opposite. And then,
Yes.
we're like, man, they should have did what I told them to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if they don't, then we're feeling some type of way. It's like, wait a minute. I may not have said that suggestion right because they were supposed to follow what I said,
Right.
not do
Yeah.
something different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I have very stubborn, strong-willed children. I've only got three. That's enough. Thank you. And my youngest right now is expecting, and she went through the entire nausea, vomiting. And how is it for you, Mum? I said, I'm terribly sorry. I was sick all the way through my pregnancies. I pray you don't go through the same thing. And it. And my son said, "Well, you shouldn't have told her that." And I said, "No, everybody knows. I've always been open about it. Um,
Yeah.
it may be her path, it may not. Fortunately,
Mhm.
she's come out now, and and she's in 20 weeks, so she's not feeling so bad now. But
Good.
she is going to raise her child the way she wants to raise her child. And it doesn't matter what input I have, you can do it subliminally,
Right?
plant a few seeds, but it's not my role to raise the child, so it's I have to back off and leave it up to them, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's something that my mum said to me, you've raised your kids the way you wanted to be raised. And I thought that was very interesting because
Good.
yes, in hindsight I did. And we have to leave it up to our own children on what they're going to do on that decision making. But as parents, we always think we know best. But what we forget is that
Right.
we are constantly learning to navigate life ourselves
So
all the
true.
time, right? So just because we're adults and we're mothers or to be grandmothers, that we know it all, forget it. We'll never know it all. All we can do
Right.
is impart the knowledge we do know. That's it.
So true. And I did an interview this morning, which I was telling you before we recorded that I'm so full from. It's because it was a woman who is in Israel, And she was saying that she always was very academically, um, successful.
Mhm.
And she said that when it came to being a parent, it taught her that everything she learned in school did not prepare her for the
Right.
real thing with life.
Yes.
Because if you are a good student, if you do make good grades, you don't practice being uh failure, because things work out for you,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if you work hard, you're going to get the rewards from that because you're focusing on your academics and it's going to pay off for you. But the whole thing of recognizing that life comes with failures and struggle, when you have had everything work out for you, you don't know how to handle that. And I mean, that was just like a major aha for me because
Mm.
that was what my life looked like.
Right.
And when I struggled with depression in my own life with parenting and trying to juggle all the different hats that I wore, it was just an eye opening experience to recognize that I was on the journey of learning what it was like to struggle, to have those hard times because I didn't grow up with that.
Well, you're also learning how to be a mother,
Yeah.
and you know that it doesn't matter how many children you have, or same parent brought up the same way, but
Mhm.
how different each one of them are.
Right.
And so you're in discovery of your children while you're helping them to be in discovery of themselves and life around them. And through that discovery, you discover yourself because your
Right.
interaction with each child is going to be different.
So true. So true. Yeah. So, I mean, it's amazing. My kids really, they teach me so much. I learn so much every day with each one of them. And I think being able to embrace that about life, being intentional and that's why I love my job in terms of being able to connect with people and have the mindset, what are they going to teach me today?
Yeah.
That's just like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm taking notes and I'm doing the interview. Right. I mean, you're doing the interview, but I'm still taking notes.
But isn't that kind of, it takes a village to raise a family? Isn't that what we're
Yes.
doing now? Our village setting is not there anymore, but we can create our village either,
Mhm.
through the internet or uh, I found through various, I met a woman 2 weeks after my son was born, already had my daughter. She lived kind of diagonally across the road and she'd seen
Mhm.
me. Her daughter was 7 weeks older than my son. To this day, she's my bestie. All three of my
Aw.
kids, that's their aunt or mum surrogate. All three of the kids are best friends with my kids, and they became my family. And that's the thing, is you meet other people along the way. If you don't have siblings, my siblings are all overseas, and you
Mhm.
create a family, you create a village, and we helped each other out in the raising of our children and respites, weekends off and going on holiday together and all of that. And it's,
Mhm.
you need to do that, don't you? You need to find kind of a
Absolutely.
tribe around you where you can go, Joey's making me tear my hair out. He's doing this again, and have somebody listen to you, help calm you down, and
So true.
help you navigate through it because we're not meant to do it alone.
So true. And I mean, there is so much richness in that. And that's one of the things that has helped me even during this pandemic.
Mhm.
I have been a part of a comic book deals, writing for magazines, and people are like, how are you doing it all? But
Yeah.
it's really given life to me because I am connecting with those people that are keeping me grounded and keeping me in this positive space because there is, just like you said, lockdown
Yeah.
is on the horizon
Mhm.
again. And, we haven't even seen the worst of it yet, I
No.
believe,
No.
with in terms of people losing their jobs
Yeah.
or the mental wellness
Yes.
issue, with people internalizing and going into depression and being isolated. I mean, so I think there is so much richness to being able to connect and
Mm.
collaborate with people during this time because it's going to take a remnant of us who are strong and being influencers to help everybody else continue with that mindset of hope and positivity,
Yeah.
because there are some hard roads ahead, I believe.
Yes. And, yes,
Hmm.
we're being asked to be mindful, probably being asked to
Hmm.
be isolated again. But we've also got to remember we don't have bombs landing on us. We don't
Right.
have, the warriors come knocking at our door trying to pull us out and kill us and all of that. We've got to put this in perspective. We're being asked to stay home, or if we do go out, to be mindful with the masks, the cleanse, the distancing. Really,
Hmm.
it's common sense. And if
Right.
people stop treating this as if it was World War Z,
Right.
and really looked at that it's just simply a change of lifestyle right now that we need to navigate, we will get through this. But we need to understand we need to get through it together. So if you are alone, a single mom raising a kid, and you can't get out there, then you need to reach out online or listen to the podcast, connect with people, and start building a tribe, right? Because
Right.
you need those other people there, just to sometimes be a sounding board, or to have a mum's
Mhm.
night on Zoom, glass of wine. Can you believe what happened to me today?
Right.
And that's what it's there for, right? So be creative and look for a different way of doing things. You can't do it that way anymore. Stop crying over the spilt milk. Start looking at a different way you can do it.
So true. And I think, there is something to that group that really lights you up, because you have to be thought leaders,
Yeah.
to be of that group. It's like me, myself, I choose not to watch the news.
Mm,
I can watch it, but I choose not to, because I realize it just doesn't serve me.
right.
I'll be going on with this negative Nelly mindset of, oh, what's going to happen to this industry and that.
Mm,
And I will be sitting there looking at the walls, talking about how bad things are
yeah.
if I got on that plane, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
now I'm all about, choosing what comes in my space. And, even just learning, you can watch the news and it can just condition you about stereotypes. So it's
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I could be thinking, well, Sarah's from Canada, and, she wouldn't understand my plight or whatever. And it really polarizes and causes people to not recognize what we have in common.
Right. I agree.
See what I'm saying? Mhm.
100%.
Mhm.
I call it the CNN event. They take a pimple and make it into a volcanic eruption. And, it's, uh, somebody asked the other day, how did Hitler get everybody to rise up and start hating each other and hating the rest of the world? And it's hysteria, it's fear. A good con man who knows how to sell fear and stir up the hysteria, and then people are suddenly caught up in a tornado and a whirlwind, and they don't know how to get out of the swirl. And so it's, stay far away from that swirl. It doesn't mean you can't know what's going on. You can look at the internet, you can read a paper, you can take in as much as you want. But the moment you start feeling yourself kind of or getting stressed out about it, put things down, because that stress will not only weaken your immune system, but it will also stop you being productive or creative with solutions.
So
So
true.
it's very
Yeah.
important. What we feed is what we grow. Let's grow the solutions.
So true. And you brought up a good point, is that we don't really take the time to recognize how we're feeling. We
Hmm.
don't sit and think about it.
Right.
We're just like, oh, yeah, it's so bad. Everybody gravitates and understands the news that they're spreading, but we don't even take time to reflect. You know what? This is not making me feel good.
Right.
And that's one of the first things that I began to recognize after I, had my last hospitalization. I just sat there and said, you know what? The news doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
And I have control over that.
Yes.
That
Good
was a
job.
game changer for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Put on the hat,
Yeah.
and you're going to see this beautiful shiny hat that she's wearing, and just going to have some fun, right?
Right.
It's so much more productive.
So true. So true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's switch sides over to the business.
Okay.
You own a podcast where you interview people around the world. You're also America's super mom, and you help other mums, and parenting and everything else that you do. it's like there you I mean, as I said the other day, you were meant to come on, but there was a well, we had a bit of a problem, and you're on a live summit and your kids are screaming in the kitchen and you had to excuse yourself, and then there's a scorpion running around, and then you just sorted it out and went back to the summit. And it's like a lot of people just don't know how to be, one moment at the kids and then with people. How do you find the balance?
Yes, that's a good question. I think it's about being intentional,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So I'm here with you now, and some of the kids are doing their work, some of them got done early, but it is showing up completely when you are called to.
right.
And so what that means is, if I'm at a summit, I'm at that summit. Okay, yeah, I'm a mom that has so many kids, but that is time for the summit. And this was a really good example this morning. I had a call with a lady who we're getting together to collaborate on a project. And so my daughter comes in and her laptop was not working, her access to get on to the platform for her curriculum. And so she comes in and she asks me how to do it. And so I get her on there. And then she goes into this little soliloquy. She's 6. And so she's like, well, mommy, can we do this and do that? And she saw that I was on the call. And I said, well, I can't do it right now. But see, normally this is their school time when I'm
Mm,
having this meeting with this lady, but she's overseas and the time changed.
right.
So we met. So anyway, my daughter is she's asking me to do this. And I said, honey, normally mommy can do that. I said, but I have a meeting right now. And I said, this is her time. I said, you have your time all the time. I said, but mommy is giving her time because she has other things that she has to do. So I will come back in there after I get done, and then we can finish our time together, which is during school for you, as soon as I get done. And so she understood that. So I
Mm,
think it's the whole thing of explaining, and helping them to see mommy is time blocking or whatever the case is, explaining to them what that is. Because, kids just see you at a computer and they're like, okay, so how are you making money or how are you being successful or whatever? Because it's like you're
you call
doing the
this
same
working?
thing. I left, you
Yeah.
had a ring light on, you had a computer. So
Yeah,
what
they
are
don't
you
get it.
doing?
Mhm. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think it's that, yeah, it's that idea of being intentional. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
But that's also teaching them
Mm-hmm.
the boundaries. It's
Yeah.
that okay, I'm sorry, folks, kids, I cannot be at school with you at home at this time period because I have to go and do
Right.
something else. Flexibility. Mom, we always
Mm-hmm.
do it at this time. Yes, but today we can't, and we will do it at that time. And it's teaching them to be flexible, teaching them to be respectful, that mom has something else to do other than just raising the kids. And that
Right.
also teaches them how to find balance in their own lives as they grow older, when they have their own families, that mom having a life, business life, career, um, your mum, you'll always be mum to them, but them seeing you as a businesswoman as well, having a career and being important elsewhere is something that they need to see, because they need to understand that's the balance. As they grow older, they'll grow so much more respectful of the fact that you are successful in your career and you balanced raising the children. They don't always see it when they're young. But later on in life, it suddenly goes to them, oh, okay, mum does do it
Right.
all. That's the reason why she's super mum.
Exactly. And I think, also the whole thing of the lower expectations.
Hmm.
It's like, I love having the title America Supermom because I'm embracing that I am a mom.
Hmm.
I am at home. I'm doing these things. So if you do hear a loud scream or
Hmm.
shrill or
Hmm.
whatever, oh, okay, that's one of her kids,
Yes.
because we get into this thing of thinking, oh, I have a business and I'm doing this and everything's compartmentalized, but nothing is blended.
Right.
So then we lose sight if a client calls you and says, hey, I need you to do this at this time. And then you're afraid to say, well, my kids have soccer
Mm.
or my son has a game. because you have separated yourself
Yeah.
so much that you have problems honoring your family because you've established that, not the client
Right.
or
Right.
the lead. That's you not speaking up
Yes.
because you feel like you have to conform to however somebody else is doing it, instead of saying, you know what, normally that would work for me, but hey, I do have 8 kids e-learning, and I tell people that, I just can't do what I used to be able to do,
Right.
so I
Adjustment.
think, yeah,
Adjustment. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Mm. And that's how it's also changed with people kind of doing the business by Zoom or what other way they're doing it right now. When you look at all the studios, now that everybody had their guest speakers coming into the studio, and there was suits and it was lights and it was makeup, and now they're doing it all by Zoom, and it's in people's homes, and then they're doing their own makeup, their own hair, and then their backgrounds are different, and even the guest speakers are no longer in suits, they're in shirts, and Trevor Noah has been wearing a hoodie since this all happened. um, the caliber of your work isn't, especially in this adjustment, you're making people feel more at home. If something goes wrong, or if if reality is there, like, excuse me, there's a scorpion, I'll come right back. uh, it's a reality, so that when something happens on their side, a kid comes running. I was interviewing a guy the other day, and one kid was shouting from the door, "I want chicken nuggets. Okay, with you soon," right? And then another one came, and I said, "Oh, let them come up into the camera." He goes, "Nope, she's naked." So, the thing is, life happens. What you have to do, as a business person, navigating the call, or as a podcaster, is just embrace it, isn't it? Embrace it, go
So
with it.
true.
Don't make anybody feel uncomfortable, because in this particular environment right now, shoot's going to happen. Go with the flow.
So, case in point with the asthma attack,
Yes.
and really, I didn't even think that it was an asthma attack. I mean, you handled it pretty well. Now listening to the story, it's like, wow, that's really some serious stuff. You know what I mean? But it's like these things happen. And, if you have to change your schedule, having that human side and
Yes.
thinking about how you would want people to respond
Right.
and modeling that. This is the thing, we have to teach people how to treat us, and that comes from how we
Mm.
treat ourselves.
Amen to that.
So you see what
Amen
I'm
to
saying?
that. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
100% there. I used to
Mm-hmm.
bend over, backwards, do everything to somebody else's time, even if it was, not good for me. And it
Right.
was like, hang on, I'm burnt out, I'm frustrated, I'm confused, everything going on. It's like, why? I really love what I do, but
Right.
the way I'm doing it is costing me too much, in the
Yeah.
sense, costing me too much, because I'm trying to bend over backwards to please everybody else. I have to set a standard. So now when I do shows, it's 11 a.m., maybe noon or 1. Those are my time periods. If you're overseas and I have to accommodate later time, then I will do that. But that's my general time. And you have the flexibility when when you can, but it's also letting people know that I'm not available at that time. No, no, I can't do it at that time. That time is designated for someone else. And it's okay to say that. We're not looking at the 9 to 5 job anymore. You're not
Right.
looking at the people who even are working at home. Basically, the companies are saying, as long as you are getting the work done, I don't care in what increments of time you're doing it in.
I
Right?
love that. And I just think, your brand, Self Discovery Media, you have built this up to the empire that it is, right? And people, when they connect with you, that's your brand precedes you.
Mm,
So we have to remember that people want an impact. If
mm,
I was to say, hey, Oprah's in town and we have a chance to meet her, we are looking at the things that she's accomplished
yes.
and we want her to show up as herself. So
Yes.
we have to remember that in our business, we have to show up as ourselves so that we can be that experience or that inspiration for people. It doesn't do me any good to be like, oh, I had a great interview. And then next week, I'm over here acting like somebody else and
Yeah,
somebody else. It's that consistency that people want you on their show because what you are bringing, your authentic
right.
self, that
Exactly.
brings that richness. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
100%. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's, the coming to LaChelle show because of LaChelle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's who you are. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like, your interview skill, maybe this or that. It's who you are as a person. And that's
Mm-hmm.
whenever you're doing business with anyone or doing anything with anyone, people say, oh, you sound like Oprah. And I said, that Oprah's Oprah. I'm Sarah, right?
Right.
I'm bringing Sarah, with all the asthma attacks and flaws and everything else. You're going to get
So true.
and I no longer apologize for being Sarah. Like, you
So
no
true.
longer live up to an expectation of what you thought LaChelle should be. You are LaChelle now with
Exactly.
the beautiful shiny crown, with the big grin, with all the love in the world. This is who you are, and that's why people love you. You know Elaine Jacques, right?
Yes,
Yes.
Elaine Jacques.
Right. And
Yes.
I had her
Mm-hmm.
on last week, and we were talking about communicating on social media, which is now your networking, which is very, very
Mm-hmm.
important of how you interact on social media, because that's going to draw clientele to you. It also tells people who you are, because we can't
Mm-hmm.
physically get out there and network anymore. But she was
Mm-hmm.
telling a story of somebody that she was communicating with, and
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed the communication. And that person was finally there, and she was going to go meet them. And she went and
Mm-hmm.
introduced herself, and the person didn't know who she was, because who she'd been communicating with was her virtual assistant, right?
That's
So we go and
terrible.
get help from people, but we've got to remember those interactions need to be us.
That is so, you know what? That is just, I'm glad you told me that story because that really resonates with me because, people are out there feeling like, oh, I need to get a VA. I need to build up my YouTube subscriber list. I need to get more followers on LinkedIn. And this is the way that everybody else is successfully doing it. And look at what happens as a result of those things going on, you know?
Exactly.
And that can mess your reputation up immensely
Exactly.
because Elaine knows a lot of people. It's
Oh, yeah.
crazy. Okay.
We have to
Wow.
understand that that networking, that social mediaing, is that you have to put a certain amount of time for interaction, right? That's, you're stuck at home now doing business. You're not out doing the normal thing. How do you reach people? You become engaged. You become engaged on the social medias, in conversations, in invitations to have a chat, to get to know one another. Because we know that everything in life is about relationships. The relationship you have with your husband, the relationship you have with your children, the relationships you have with your clientele, right? It's all about relationships and building those relationships with people. And it's essential that we actually learn how to communicate and connect with people in order to build that tribe or that community that you're building. And it's not a one face fits all. You're going to wear different hats for different situations, but underneath that hat, or the crown as we're looking at right now, is LaChelle. And LaChelle will always
Right.
be LaChelle, but the hat that you're wearing at the time is according to what you're doing.
So true. I mean, that is so true. And I think, it's a testament of us doing the work.
Yeah.
You know, everybody is into this microwave society where, you want to have the least amount of pain or you want to get the most profit in the, shortest amount of time.
With the least amount of
But
work.
yeah,
Yeah.
all this is part of the journey. It's like everybody wants to be LeBron James, but they don't want to go and do what LeBron James
Yeah.
is doing
Yeah.
when it comes to the work that allows him to be where he is today.
Right.
And so this is where we try to get the shortcuts and do things and think about the mass production. But it's just like you said, it's the simplicity
Yeah.
of having those one-on-one interactions, creating those organic connections with people and building from there. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of people.
No.
Most people, when they think about the income they want to make, it's like, oh, wow, I only need like about 7 or 8 clients.
Mm.
But then we're over here listening to this seminar that's telling you that you can have 1,000 clients and you can scale and do all this. But that isn't even going to meet your needs because you're going to get those clients, but then how many hours are you going to dedicate to doing your job away
Exactly.
from your family?
You're going to be a
You know what
slave to
I'm
the
saying?
clients and forget everything
Ex-
else. Balance again, folks. What do
so
you
true.
need? 7 or 8 clients. Pour your
Right.
time into them. So that's their time,
Yes.
that's family time. And not to forget, where's your time? Your
Right.
time for LaChelle, right?
True.
What do you do
So
for
true.
you?
So true. And I mean, that is just key. And it's like every day is the beginning of me being excited about being able to have the freedom to have the day that I desire,
Right.
and setting that up. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I have really 4 or 5 major things that I do a day, and that's it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, this is the kind of schedule. It was really this really profound story somebody told me about this salesperson who had went over on an island. I want to say, let's just say it was Hawaii, and he met a fisherman, and so the fisherman just loved his day. He was able to just kind of enjoy being at the beach in the middle of the day. And so this salesman says, hey, you know what? This is a really nice place you got here. You ought to think about how you can make money and monetize, having people come and visit and do all this. And so he said, well, what would I do that for? He said, because then you can make money and then you can retire and you can live the life of your dreams on the beach. And he said, why would I go all the way around doing all that when I'm already enjoying that right now?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So, how many times do we get on the hamster wheel
Yes.
when we already were doing fine, but we let somebody else talk us into what we are already enjoying? They make us think that we're going on a different journey, you know?
Yeah.
Because we don't know what we want. So we got
Mm,
to get back to us
mm.
and knowing who we are and what our journey is so that when people come, everybody is not going to be in your tribe. And that's okay, you know?
Yeah. The other thing is the measurement. You know how much time you need to give your kids, how much time you need to give yourself,
Right.
your husband, how much time you need to give your work. Um, and that's where you kind of become a little structured. It's like, you know what? I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to take a nice long bath. Nobody call me unless it's an emergency. And you've
Right.
you've got to have that kind of time. And if you take on more than you can do, then who's going to lose out? Somebody along the line is going to lose out. And you've got certain people that are all hype and all energy. I got
Right.
500,000 followers and I do this and I do that, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, well, you're exhausted me already. I don't want to
Right.
be a part of that because you're requiring energy from me I don't have. My energy is
Exactly.
quieter, it's more deliberate, it's more focused. I rather have quality time with the one than diluted time with the masses. And you've got to know what it is you can give, want to give, and what you want to receive, and that's really important.
So I did an interview with Ivan Meisner, who's the founder of BNI, and he said one thing I would tell you: it's better to do one thing 1,000 times than to do 1,000 things just one time.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was profound,
Yes.
because I'm like,
What?
and we think it's too simple to do one thing, do an interview, right? And then it's like, oh no, I need to do video. I need to do all this. Just do the interview. If you
Yes.
focus on that one thing, that is going to be, that's the difference between the things that go viral. And it's not always about going viral, but if you are an interviewer and you want to be able to provide valuable content to people, focus on that. And that's going to be the thing that's going to attract people to give you that virality.
You're right.
They're going to want to
Yeah.
share it. But
Yes.
if you're over here saying, oh, I love interviewing, but then you're over here trying to write a book, you're
Mm.
trying to do this and do that, this is where you lose the power of your message because you're over here trying to be all things to all people.
And this is a good point because through the COVID, I was doing 7 or 8 shows a week. and each show is a 4 to 5 hour production. So it takes up a lot of time, and that's before you do anything else.
Right.
And it was kind of, woof, it's getting a bit too much. And I've now gone down to 4 or less a week. And I am going to be doing that book. I'm going to be doing 2 books, one my own, and the other one is the Forgotten Children series, which is about how we really need to invest in our children and families when they're young,
Okay.
and not looking at the dysfunction of as an adult and just blame them as an adult and not look to the way they were raised. Um, and I'm going to be navigating that. So
I
I
would
know.
love to give you a piece on that, my words of wisdom on
Oh,
that. So
please.
okay.
I
Yeah.
definitely, I was going, no, though I realize, please, I have so many wonderful people who can contribute to this. It's going to be a 3-part volume.
Good.
And it's a podcast book. So each person will be actually reading their chapter. It'll be an ebook and a book. I will be putting a video together of the speakers to promote it. And the money goes into the fund action that then gets distributed from the book, gets distributed to their various organizations they support. There's so many people doing so many wonderful things, and there's so many people with so much wisdom around children. We need to change our focus completely. So I wanted to do this at the beginning of the year, and COVID happened. So I'm determined to do it now, but I'm also not going to dictate exactly. It's got to be done by then. It's going to be one step, one step, one step as it goes, because I really, when I put it out there, that's when it's ready to be received. And I think that's something to, oh, so-and-so's got 2 books out already. And it's like, well, good for them. Good for them. I'm going to put whatever time I can into this one to get the 1 book out, hopefully by spring. And do your best according to whatever else you're juggling, and the energy that you can actually give it, authentically, and don't try and stretch yourself thin on trying to do something to impress somebody else because somebody else is doing it like that.
So true. And one of the things that I would just say, this example just came to my head. If you are someone who is good at your physical physique, you work out, right? You don't work out all day, every
Right.
day working out. You do a structured amount of time of working out, whether it's 45 minutes, an hour, at the most, maybe 2 hours. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had anybody working out that long, but I'm just using that
Mm-hmm.
as an example. But the benefits last with
Yes.
how they look
Yeah.
all day, every day, month after month after month. And so if we have that same mindset, everybody kind of compartmentalized. They're like, wow, you do such a good interview. You're not interviewing all day, every day.
Right.
And, when we do that to ourselves,
Yes.
if you begin to kind of think about it, man, these personal trainers, they get a couple clients, they do this working out, and they reap the benefits from that consistency
Yes.
daily
Mm-hmm.
for short periods of time. Why? Because that's really all you really can manage,
Mm.
because there's so many things behind the scenes, just like you mentioned. Everybody's like, oh, well, Sarah's got a podcast, LaChelle's got one, let me get one.
Yeah.
Well, you got editing, you have to
Yes.
reach out to the guests,
Yeah.
you got to determine what the content is,
Mm.
you have to repurpose it, you got to, I mean, just like, you were on my
Yep.
podcast and you edited it, you know what I'm saying? You were like, hey girl, what's going on with this podcast? And I'm like, yeah, you offered to help with that because you knew that I had a lot going on. And so
Exactly.
my point is, there are so much more behind the scenes that give you that time to consistently show up, that we don't see. That's the top, the bottom of the
Yeah.
iceberg. We
Yeah.
just see the top of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And running a family, running a business, running your own life, there's a certain amount of structure you do need to have, right? The consistency you're talking about, a certain routine, because it helps you manage things. But if you're managing things properly, it also allows the time to take flight, to go crazy, to go and have the fun, because the foundation and the consistency and the structure is there for you to kind of put up the disco ball and go crazy, right? So that when do I have time to have fun? Have fun doing what you're doing. If the structure is there, You will have fun in doing what you're doing because it's less of a chore. And then you'll also have that extra time in order to really go and do something crazy.
So true. And I mean, just as you've mentioned about this crown,
Mm.
there are times when things just really are crazy that I will have visual cues for my kids. I have this red, white, and blue hat that I wear that, they're like, Mom, are you going out in public with that hat on or whatever? And it's like, yeah, it's all about making people laugh, putting a smile on their face, and recognizing that. And kids are able to have that without any prompting.
Right, right,
We kind of condition them to walk away from that.
right.
And then it's like we get older, then we want to go back to being a kid
Mhm.
so that we can remember the things that were important instead of just doing that first,
Right.
and then enjoying and doing whatever. And I think it's the including them in your vision, you know.
Mm.
I just learned here recently, like I have a fifth grader and he wasn't doing good in math. And normally I look at my older children, I was that mom that was like, hey, we're in Atkins. We don't get bad grades. You're
Mm.
going to study, you're going to stay focused. And so he comes to me, and I think he's probably thinking I'm going to say that. And he's like, I'm not doing good in math. I need to bring this grade up. And I said, well, what do you think you need to do? I said, first of all, have you even talked to the teacher about it? And he's like, well, no, because they're doing the remote learning.
Mm.
And I said, okay, well, maybe you don't want to talk to the teacher. What are some things that you can do that can help you bring your grade up? And he's like, well, I can get on YouTube and watch some videos or look it up on Google, right? Fifth grade. And I said, well, you know what? If I were you, I would take my own advice and I would possibly look up some of those things to see if that helps you. And then if that doesn't work, maybe you can talk to your teacher. I said, because I've already been in the fifth grade.
Mhm.
know, I've passed fifth grade. We're talking about you and what your obstacles are. So you can't depend on mommy. You can't depend on daddy. You can look at your older siblings and say, hey, I don't understand this concept. Can you explain it to me, or whatever the case is? But it's about you being able to solve your own problem. You can see that you're not doing well in this class. So you can take the initiative to ask the teacher, hey, I'm not understanding this. Can I have some extra problems that I can practice at home or whatever? I'm like, you guys can problem solve for some video games. If I
Yeah.
told you that you could play or whatever, you would be coming up with all kind of stuff.
Right.
But we're talking about, do you want to be in the fifth grade next year? Because math is a required
Mhm.
subject in order for you to be promoted. So I said, are you willing to let your performance in this class stop you from advancing? To you be in the same class next year with different people and you're the oldest one? And he thought about it. He was like, Mom, he did some research. He said, I can even do some extra credit. I can replace one of my lowest test grades. Now, would I have had that result if I said, oh, honey, you don't understand it. Let's just
Mm.
solve this for you. Let's get a tutor. Not to say that that's not important, but kids are performing for themselves. We need
Yes.
to hold them accountable and let them own up to that. If you need help, why are you not asking?
Right.
Who is reading your mind?
Yes.
Those are great problem skills that they need to begin to implement and nurture so that they can build that muscle.
And carry with them for the rest of their lives.
So true.
It's you have an obstacle in front of you. You turn around and get someone, will you remove this obstacle, or are you going to learn
Right.
to remove that obstacle yourself? Right. And
Right.
and look at the pride afterwards. I've achieved this. Well, if I can achieve this, I mean, we know that when people find their courage and their strength and their abilities and that meaningful purpose, they look at themselves and like, oh my God, I've been selling myself short. I
So
didn't
true.
know I could do this. I didn't know it until I tried. I didn't know it until I had to, until I had to face it. And now I've actually done that. What else can I do? What
Right.
else can I do? What other abilities do I have? And
Right.
society sells us short because they're trying to box everybody into a certain type. You know, um, how many people? I'm not at all academic. Absolutely. I never finished school. I'm not at all academic whatsoever, but I'm intuitive. So my knowledge
Right.
comes from my knowingness, it comes from my intuition, and then goes to my knowledge and how to use it. We have to be careful with over academicating people and them not using their own instincts and their own divine intellect, heart, soul, and spirit intellect that can guide them and navigate them through things. Because, having certain degrees may not help you navigate that particular road. That's going to take gumption, that's going to take intuition, that's going to take a willingness to explore something you don't know.
So true. And I think even, just as you mentioned with the academic background, we get comfortable with performing well in one area.
Yes.
And then, we just want to focus on that and think that everything else is going to work out without any work.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like, you can't be doing good on your job. And then your kids are over here like, okay, wait a minute. Where are we at in this scenario?
Yeah.
We don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
You're traveling, you're doing whatever. And it's all about having that situation where it's a process, it's a journey because, it is not a cookie cutter thing to where everything is totally in balance all the time.
Right.
And one of the things that I say to people, even now, it's like, I was on this journey of being depressed for 13 years. I was hospitalized 3 times. And that process did damage to my family because one, I had a victim mindset.
Right.
And then once I realized that, then I realized that my kids and my husband were victims,
Right.
you know. So that is going to take a healing process and everything's not going to always be in balance. I may give one of my kids a hug and I don't know, it could send back a flashback or we're listening to music and a movie comes on and it's a movie they watched when I was in the
Yeah.
hospital. I don't know all these things,
Yes.
right? And so I think just the space to say that, we all are on this journey and it's a work in progress. And being able to be authentic about and vulnerable and transparent about these situations helps us to overcome any kind of damage in the future and in the present that we can just talk through. But it can be a hard conversation.
Yeah, I mean, case in point with my son, I am asthmatic. I have been since the age of 2, but I have fibromyalgia. And part of fibromyalgia is depression because your body is constantly in flux. And there's certain things physically I can't do. And I've had it for 23 years. And it, sometimes takes hold of me. And my son hates this. And every time I saw him, he was trying to fix me. You should be doing this, you should be doing that. You got to do this, you got to do that. And one day I just took his hands and looked in his face and said, stop trying to fix me because you make me feel broken. Instead, just love me. Take me in your arms and hug me. That's all the medicine I need. And that released him from feeling responsible out of me. And it also gave him empowerment of what I really did need.
That is profound. Stop fixing me because you're making me feel broken. That's just a game changer.
Mhm.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, that's good.
We've all got things to face, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on certain medication for my depression now, which I finally succumbed to that, and my life is totally different because I don't go down that dark avenue of despair where you feel somebody's trying to take your guts out and your heart out, and there's no rationale, there's no, why are you feeling depressed? Snap out of it. There, it was all chemical. You know what I mean, right?
Exactly.
Somebody
Exactly.
sliced open your guts and they're pouring it out, and you can't reason with depression. You just
No.
can't. And so now I'm on this medication that finally works, and I don't go down the rabbit hole anymore, which
Yeah.
is great. I've still got fibromyalgia though, and I still got to work in those parameters. I've got people all the time in business say, but you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And I just listen. And the thing is, I know how much physical energy I have to do what I'm doing. And
So
one of the
true.
things I know is I work within that parameters of that energy. And then I need to stop because if I don't, I'm overspending my body and I will crash. And that's the thing, know your limitations in whatever aspects in your life. Stop apologizing for them. You don't need to explain them. You just need to live by them for your own self-worth.
Mhm. So true. Yeah, I think that is so good. And, we have this whole thing of comparing. And my thing is, when people are so vocal, they're vocal about the things that matter to them,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, you could be making money. Well, you know what? I'm not motivated by money,
Right.
and so sometimes instead of us really even asking ourselves the question, do I want more money? Well, no. Well, then why are you listening to this person?
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
This
what
is
drives
where,
them. It's not what's driving
right.
you. Yeah.
This is where you guys part ways and you
Right.
go to the left,
Yeah.
they go to the right, and
Yeah.
then you meet some other body on your path that
Yes.
resonates with you,
Right.
but then we sit here and we're like, well, they want to go right. What's wrong with me? Why do I not want to go right? Why am I not seeing what they're seeing? And then we following them, and then it's like you're going way a different direction when you
Their
could have
right
just
is
made
wrong
that
for you.
right.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah. So that is good stuff right there. Hmm.
Um, we only through our own self-discovery of our journey in life, our meaningful purpose, it's only through literally one step in front of the other and living each day that we learn about ourselves. And we get to a point where you go, you know what? All of that and that and that is because I was living by somebody else's expectation of me. I am now comfortable with who I am, why I am, and what I'm here to do. And I don't need to explain it or apologize for it or validate it to anyone else. I know who I am and what I do, and that's enough. And we need to get to that spot, don't we?
Yes. And I think it's like, to me, I call it setting the stage for
Mm.
the right audience, right?
Yes,
Because
yes, I like that.
if you know what you're doing,
Yeah,
then it's like what I did last year, yesterday, it doesn't matter. It's what do we want to accomplish right now?
right.
you know, and allowing people the idea to focus on what's important, right?
Yes,
So, if you want to, I'm just using this for example, if you want to get media exposure, it doesn't matter, where I went to high school or, how many
yes,
kids I have
yes.
or if I'm married or divorced. The problem you have and the solution I offer, this is what we have this relationship about. But we get in our own way because it's like, well, I'm not valuable enough because I'm divorced or, my kids are dealing with fighting or whatever that case is. And so we don't set the stage right. We're over here focusing on some stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with the audience that we're serving.
Case in point, podcasting. When I first started, and, for me, I interview ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That's always been my platform. Inspiration begets invitation. And for me, it's never been about what the title of the person is or how important the person is. It's about who they are and what they've got to contribute. Is it inspiring? Am I inspired by it? Will my audience be inspired by it? But I didn't know I was going to interview so many people that are movie producers or authors of movies being made out of their books, or, people that are movers and shakers in the world. Because people say, do you interview celebrities? And I said, I celebrate everybody I interview. They're all celebrities to me. And but you look at sometimes the people that are being revered, that are being put up on the pedestal, and you think, oh, I can never touch them. I'm just a little old me. And when you take away that pedestal and you treat them as a human being, and you're truly fascinated by who and what they are and what they've got to contribute, there's the connection. They either will accept or won't accept. But if they do, they are just as anxious to speak their truth and their journey and share it with everyone else as anybody else. We put people up on that pedestal and think they're unreachable. They're not,
Right.
right?
Right. So true. I mean, I had an interview right before our interview, and the gentleman had started podcasting. He helped someone start a podcast series. Over 12 months, they made $500,000. But this was 20 years ago. when there
Right.
wasn't a
Yes.
podcast. I mean,
Yes.
no
There's
social
over
media.
1 million of them now.
Right. And so, I asked him, I was like, I don't want people to miss this
Yeah.
because this is the stuff that we kind of breeze over.
Hmm.
You know, you now if I say podcast, people gravitate to that because they know what it is.
Yes.
It's gotten popular. We've got thought leaders that have
Hmm.
influenced us to know what it is. You did this when there was no other
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what this was. And this is the kind of results you got. This is a mindset you had.
Yes.
Because imagine how he was thinking when he's going around telling people, I'm helping with this podcast. They're like, what is that? I don't know what that
I
is. And,
know.
I mean, this is the stuff that people endure behind the scenes
Yes.
that nobody recognizes. So
No.
I think it's so
Yeah.
important to really,
Yes. Get the
dive
story
deep.
out. Get that
Yeah.
story out because,
Hmm.
you know, I've interviewed a number of people that started kind of way back, maybe not that far back, but definitely way back. And, the struggle to get people to understand what it is. When I was first asked to join another network of podcasting, I go, what's that? I didn't know about podcasts at that time. And I did 13 months with this other network, live shows, brilliant training ground. Retrograde, internet going down, your guest dropping, you dropping during the interview, all sorts of things happening, and it was a great training ground for when I started my own 7.5 years ago. I took that knowledge, and every single show I do is a learning. It's one of the things it's absolutely learning is how absolutely awesome humanity can be. But I'm also going to use flawsome, which I think is a wonderful word, because
Yes.
every single person that is awesome today had flaws at some point they had to overcome.
So true. And still have them.
Yes, that's what makes them flawsome.
Right.
Yes.
I know. I'm like, look, I will be on time sometimes for an interview, and then I tell my kids something, and we're like 5 minutes late. You know
Mhm.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, it's like they're like, Mom, now if this was an interview, you would be on time. Why is it? And I'm like, you're right. I need some work. Okay. So,
Exactly. But they're
mhm,
more forgiving.
yes,
This
yes.
is the professional side of you. Family can be more flexible, right? That's the important one.
So true. So true.
I
Yes.
mean, the word forgiving, I
Mm.
think forgiving of ourselves is so important, isn't it?
Yes. And this is the concept that many of us just don't get until it's later on in life, you know, because we hear the term, when you forgive others, it's for you and not for them. But we still, if you're a people pleaser, if you put other people before yourself, you're doing this for other people still before you do it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to learn to put that oxygen mask on first
Hmm.
and give yourself the grace and the patience and compassion and empathy, that you would give to somebody else. And once you do that, it's a game changer,
I mean,
in
like
terms of.
yourself. I mean, 3 times in hospital for basically being overstressed, and you knew something had to change, and
Mhm,
because of those events, and you coming back and each time changing the groove, you've got a well-oiled machine, but you're also in a position to help other people who are navigating a similar path. And
mhm,
that's the reason why we go through things, isn't it? So that we can impart that knowledge, that wisdom onto others to help their journey in life.
mhm. So true. And I think we miss that.
Yeah.
You know, we start talking to people in our circle that start making it about the money.
Yeah.
They start making it about, what social media platform,
Yeah.
how
How
they
many
can,
followers? Yes.
how many followers. And if you stay grounded with the group of people that pour into you, you pour into them, you will be able to have that clarity and scale back. That's one of the themes that I have for this week because, just as you mentioned, I have the comic book and
Mhm.
there's these co author book projects, but I'm learning that hey, to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
So I'm willing to give up now what I have to make space for what is coming in the future.
Right.
You know, I do want to be able to travel and do a book launch when we have live events. But if I'm sitting here micromanaging my schedule and packing so much into what I have to do every day, I'm not going to have room or space to be able to go participate in an event or do something, you know. So
Now you
now
might
I'm
end up back
thinking,
in another hospital bed too because you've overspent yourself,
you
right?
see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
now I'm speaking from experience, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, what am I going to give up to make room for this new gift
Yes.
that I made, another platform that I'm going to be gifted with?
Right.
How am I going to serve this platform? So I need to give up something now before this platform appears
Mhm.
so that I can still maintain that consistency to the people that have already been there
And the
from the very
equilibrium in
beginning.
your own life. And you might not be
Exactly.
giving up, you might be shelving. To
Exactly.
come back to something later. And when you come back
So
to it, it
true.
may be, now to be created in a new format. It's taking a step back from something so you can step forward in something else.
So true. Yeah. So I think it just, I don't know if I when I would have ever come to that kind of realization or reflective type of thinking, if I didn't have that experience
Right.
of what I had went through. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But
Yes.
now experience is the best teacher. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
3 times bumping my head up against that hospital wall. I'm done with that.
Yes. Yes. Been there, done that, right? But
Mhm.
you are, your own warning is going off right now. Something's going to have to give if you're going to go down that path.
Right.
And you know that because otherwise there's a hospital bed waiting for you. And so you've learnt your own lesson and you know how to navigate through that now. And, do not dismiss your inner voice.
So true. So true. And I think for many people, they don't know that inner voice.
Right.
They buried it so deep, and I've always tell people it was the mask that I hid behind.
Hmm.
Because I could go out in public and look a certain way and, laugh and do all the things that I preach to other people to do. But at home, it wasn't that way
Right.
because I was under the pressure of maintaining this illusion
Yes.
that doesn't exist, right? And
Hmm.
so as in that process, I didn't know who I was. You can ask me a simple question about what was my favorite color, and because I wasn't in that thinking mode, it's like you're asking me a SAT question or one of these standardized tests. You know what I'm saying? And so people are like, I just was asking what's your favorite color. And you're, well, why are you asking me that? Well, what do you mean by my favorite color? What are you trying to get at? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like,
You were
yeah,
defensive. Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
So we need to get back to recognizing what that voice is telling us. Don't push it down. Begin to write and journal from that voice
Yeah.
until it gets stronger, until you get more confident. What are you trying to tell yourself, in the morning? If you are up at night, normally we're like, man, I can't sleep. We're turning on the TV for them to tell us a vision, right?
Yes.
That's where you
Yes.
get television from.
Yes.
So what do you need to tell yourself? What are you trying to communicate to yourself? And so this is the opportunity for us to start writing. You
Yeah.
might have
Yeah.
the world's best novel. Look at J.K. Rowling,
Yes.
right? You might have that in the middle of the night trying to come out of you, but we're continuing to bury it through TV,
Yeah.
through calling a friend or following this influencer and that, instead of really diving deep into who we are.
Right. And
Mhm.
it's the one of the things. Um, I grew up never being enough for anybody else because they all wanted me to be someone else. And it took me a very long time for me just to be Sarah, just Sarah, without any apology. I'm enough in my own life. I'm enriched and abundant in what I do and who I am in my own life. If I'm not enough for you, fair enough. Move on.
So
Move
true.
on.
Yeah. And I think, we got to build that confidence.
Yes. Yes.
We
And if
got
you
to build
stop
that
living for
confidence.
everybody else and the illusion of you, and you start really being enough for who you are and what you're doing. I don't have a fancy site, as you know. I was trying to
Right.
change it at the beginning of the year, and then it didn't work out because they couldn't actually take all my 2,700 shows and move them over properly. So,
Right.
my site is the old fashioned template, but it works. It works. You can
Yeah.
navigate it, you can see it, it is a representation of me. I'm a plodder. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 shows every week of wonderful wisdom coming from the people that have journeyed in life. And I'm going to do it from my heart because I love doing it and I love bringing you these people. If it's enough for you, it's enough. If it's not enough for you, there's somebody else. I'm not going to be offended.
So true. Yeah. And I would hear people do that in those presentations, and it used to make me cringe. It's like, but I want everybody to like me. I feel like I have a message for everybody. And now it's like, hey, you know
Yes.
what? No hard feelings.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm somebody's strong cup of black
Hey,
coffee, and that's it.
yes.
And that's the thing,
Yeah.
when you take out the I'm not going to be offended if you like me or not. When you step
Right.
out of that, I need everyone to like me to justify me, and when you let that go, oh my God, what a burden. What a burden you've
It's
just let go of, right?
a game changer.
A game changer for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So you've got a lot on your plate, what you call stepping back. It's somebody else's marathon. So, um, what is you're doing a comic book, which sounds absolutely cool. What is that about?
Yeah, so all through podcasting, right? So I had a guest who was in a Facebook group. I was in the group because I've always had this aspiration to have a coloring book.
Hmm.
My kids and I, we used to do a lot of awareness that we would raise in the month of October for Children's Hospital of Atlanta for children's cancer, because my dad passed away, my stepdad, but he was the dad that basically
Hmm.
raised me. He passed away of lung cancer. So, in order to continue to bridge that gap, raise awareness for my kids, it's like, how can we have a thing of hope and spread awareness for cancer, but in something that I can include them with? So, that's how we got with Children's Hospital of Atlanta and doing it with children's cancer. But I always wanted to have a coloring book to
Yeah.
kind of share. And this Facebook group was a comic book. And I thought, somebody invited me, went ahead and did it, had her come on the show. And as we got to talking, she was like, she really enjoyed the interview. And she said, you really need to meet our thought leader who is behind this group, because it's an educational undertone. They
Mm-hmm.
want to have a creative way of teaching kids in the future. So I said, absolutely. She connected us, and the lady wanted me to be an influencer in the comic book. Janelle Garner. I want to say names because we want to give people shout outs, but she asked me to be an influencer, and I said, absolutely. I thought this is great. So I'm thinking the comic book, this is fun. Now they have the comic book is going to turn into a cartoon. They've got a Cartoon Network.
Neat.
They have the trading cards, like the little Pokemon and
Yes,
all that kind of
yes.
stuff. They have that. They're going to have other products that they're going to sell through this, all from saying yes. So I want to say for people, they didn't ask me to change,
Mm-hmm.
to do anything different than what I normally do. They just wanted my persona of what I do to be a part of their vision. And this is one of the things that I really want to tell people is, when you know who you are, people just want you to show up as yourself
Yes. That's your
in their
contribution to the
world.
feast, right?
Yes,
Yes.
show up as you.
Yeah.
They don't want me to pretend to be Oprah
Right.
or, somebody else out there. They just want me to be me, a part of their project.
Right.
And this is what you'll find when you get comfortable with who you are. People are going to recognize that light, and that's going to attract them to you. So you don't have to go on this journey of pretending to be somebody else.
And be willing to explore. Be willing to say
Yes.
yes. If it's not for you, then, thank you very much. No,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know where it's going to go. We've got to be, explorers in our life, wanderers. It's I'm 66. I'm doing this. I'm about to plan, the next phase with the books. I have no idea what the future is going to be. I'm just plodding along, doing this and doing that, and participating. And recently I said yes to a summit. As somebody, I'd done this wonderful series, Let's Get Sync series, which was about the emotional climate change or before climate change, all the people that are making a difference in the world with changing and shifting those perspectives. And she asked me to be a part of this summit. I said yes. I sent in my thing. And when I look at the notice, I'm of the likes of Deepak Chakra, Jane Goodall, the Laszlo Buddhist Foundation, and numerous other people. And I'm extremely honored that my voice was enough to join this group, which is really, really nice. And if I had said no, or, cross-examined or this or that, I felt privileged to be asked and to be able to contribute. And it wasn't even knowing what I was doing. I just did it. And that's the thing, is just go out and do it. Just go out and explore. Just go out and say yes to some things. If it doesn't work out, fine, you walk away. If it does work out, boy, look what it can open up, what doors it can open up for you.
So true. And I mean, how many times would we have talked ourselves out of that experience? Because if
Many.
they had told you, yeah, about all these other guests, you'd be like, wow, now you're stressed out.
Yes.
What's your message going to be?
Yeah.
You have to do a better message because you're in the company of these professionals,
Yes.
and you would not have even shown up.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
So, that's the thing, is that stop measuring yourself to other people. Be enough in your own life. Be willing to explore, to try new things. Don't forget to pace yourself. Don't forget to have the balance and the equilibrium with everything else in your life. And you don't have to reach the finish line. It's a question of starting, and just the first phase, second phase, third phase. Let it take you where it needs to take you. I'm a big, huge advocate of allow, participate, be integrative, and allow, and it will take you to where you're meant to be.
Another thing I want to say, just this came to me too while you were talking, is, most of these platforms, when you do these collaborations with these summit, like, you said with Deepak
Right.
Chakra, um, you could take that image and reach out to those different individuals. And if they do have a VA,
Yeah.
that VA is going to say, oh, this isn't just some random person.
Hmm.
This is Sarah, who is a part of his circle
Yeah.
because they were in this summit together. And so it can open the door for you to get past the gatekeeper.
List. The list is there. I've already marked down the few people I want to interview, plus quite a number of people that were up there I have already interviewed as well. But yeah,
Right.
yeah, there was already, oh, that person, that person, that person, and that's the summit was over on Sunday, and I thought I'll wait for it to be over. There's a couple of people I hadn't yet listened to because each one of them were 4 or 7 hours. You can still listen to them. In fact, I'm going to be putting up a blog showing the videos, showing it. It was a source
Yes.
of wonder. And it's really some of the speakers. Plus, there were some performances, and just some wonderful things happening there. Alison Goldwyn, she'd been wanting to do this, of put an event that was global, that invited the whole world. And she couldn't do it physically. So last time I spoke to her, I said, well, do it virtually, darling. That way it goes on and on and on. And she's done it. And it's this wonderful summit of all these wonderful speakers and contributing and performances and enlightenment. It truly is wonderful. So I'm going to put it up so that people can listen to it again, because it's very worth listening to.
Yes, and I appreciate you sending me that link because I was able to sign up. I have not listened to a lot of the things, but I would encourage people to do that. Take that time, be intentional.
Yes.
Even if it's, take notes. This is
Yes.
the thing. We just are so busy with hearing a great message from somebody,
Right.
but we don't figure out how we can implement this in our own life.
Yeah.
So we have to take notes so that we can get that impact. We always wonder, wow, somebody's talking about Tony Robbins and how they got inspired. Well, they got inspired because they listened to take
Yes,
notes to figure out how they can
take
implement it to get the
notes.
results so they
Yes,
can go and testify about it. You see what
exactly.
I'm saying?
Yeah, and somebody will say something, oh, that's profound. Just write it down. You don't have to write down every single word they say, just a statement that they say,
Exactly.
right? And you write it down and go, oh, that had an impact. I'm going to come back and visit that later, right?
Right.
But I always say to people, the answers are all out there. A million podcasts. I've got 2,700 of them. This is your second one with me.
Mhm.
With this kind of wisdom and knowledge that's being shared. That's why I call it the orchard of wisdom ready for clicking, right? You
Yes,
know,
I love
just
that.
just pick from the tree of wisdom, take a bite. Have no idea how you could listen to an hour, or in our case, an hour and a half going to 2 hours because we get going. um, you can listen to it and maybe there's only one thing that had an impact on you, but that's one thing that's to shift you in a different direction for the good. All right, so it's be willing to listen, be willing to learn, be willing to look outside of the box and see that there are other ways of learning, being inspired, being invited, and people sharing skills and tools with you that you can apply to your own life. So it's very, very important. So, how do people listen to your podcast?
I am on the Anchor platform, but also iTunes, Stitcher, every place where you have the podcast I'm on. Also, I have a YouTube channel. So for some of the podcasts that are on the audio version, there's also the video side that's through YouTube. And you can find all those through America's Supermom.
Okay. And what is the actual
Mhm.
anchor one called?
Unlock your superpower with America's Supermom.
Everybody needs to unlock that superpower, right? It's in
Yeah,
them. It's in them. It's
absolutely.
begging to come out. Don't compare
Yes.
yourself to somebody else's superpower. The superpower that you were given is important. One of the
Mhm.
most important people in any industry, in any corporate business, is the janitor. If you walk into that business and it's dirty, why do you want to do business with anyone? If it's clean and it's welcoming, you're going to go, this is well run, and you want to speak to the CEO. So never underestimate your contribution, big or small. It's just as important.
So true. I love that. That was great. Yeah, that's amazing.
And your
I
Saturday
have really
gainers?
enjoyed this time. This is
Oh yeah,
something else.
no, this is, I always enjoy my time with you. Always, it's wonderful. You're not just a super mum; you're a super woman. You really are, and
Oh.
you're so giving, and you're so sharing, and
Hmm.
you're so loving, and it always comes across. Your love of who you are, what you stand for, always exudes out. It
Oh.
precedes you, and thank you for that love. Thank you for
Oh,
letting me be part of your circle.
you are so welcome. And this crown is going to fall off my head because it's going to swell.
It's okay, babe. It's okay. Let it swell a bit. Be proud of who you are. You've worked for it.
Well, thank you so much. Yes. Well, I really have enjoyed this. And like I said, I stay really close to you. I love your
Thank you.
presence and poise and just how comfortable you've made me feel ever since we have come together and just the ability to be transparent. I don't think you can always have these connections
Hmm.
with everybody because I feel like some people don't see you.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like a superficial thing.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate, you having me in your fold, and I am always here to learn from you and willing to
Ditto.
support you on all that you do.
Oh, right back at you, darling. Right back at you. And yes, I want you to be a part of the Forgotten Children series book. We will talk about that because I know you have a great deal to contribute right there. And we need to invest in our children, don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hmm.
So, your site again?
It is, they can look me up through every social media under America Supermom. So
Okay.
that'll make it simple for them to remember that.
Right.
And, just again, I just encourage people as we approach 2021, take out a piece of paper and think about what do you want for
Mhm.
2021, and don't be shy about it. Write it
Right.
down, however crazy it may seem or whatever, because it is the fuel that's going to light you up as you approach every day from this point forward and begin to, use that fuel as your guide
Mm.
to have the life that you desire, because it is possible. Just connect and continue to get comfortable with what that intuitive voice is inside you, and connect with people that appreciate it. If something just intrigues you, stop. I call it stop the scroll. Someone had said that to me one time. You can get on Facebook or whatever and you can be scrolling, but these things that make you stop,
Yes.
stop and
Yes.
really examine, what is it about this that made me stop? Start asking yourself questions rather than telling yourself stuff.
Right.
We tell ourselves, you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to listen. Start asking, what message do you want to share? How can you help people? What difference can you make? These things will begin to put you on a totally different playing field.
Yes.
So be comfortable with who you are and listen to that intuition.
And making that plan for 2021 is
Mm-hmm.
is seeding the possibilities. Now
Mm-hmm.
nurture them, now water them, but allow them to grow as they are meant to grow. Don't demand how they grow or when they should be picked. Just water and nurture those seeds, those dreams for 2021, and allow them to grow. They will come to fruition when they're meant to, right?
So true.
Wonderful.
There you go with that wisdom. I tell you, if I had known that how many years ago?
There's some benefits to getting old.
That whole thing, hindsight is
Yes.
2020. I
Yeah.
mean, that's where we get our genius from. But I think, it's so profound how we want to forget the lessons. This is why common sense is not so common.
Right.
As
Right.
when we have an experience that will teach us something, we dive into denial,
Mm.
to burying it and forgetting it. And the lesson that was there to teach us gets buried with that. So this is why we don't have anything to share with others.
Right. Exactly. It's a
Hmm.
disservice to yourself and to everyone else around you.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I love you. Mwah.
Love you too.
You are a beautiful soul. I love who you are and what you do. And please, folks, go and listen to her podcast. She interviews some wonderful people. I can't wait for when the comic book comes out. Let me know.
Yes.
Okay. Because I
Yes,
want to
I will.
have you come back and share all about that. But just keep on glowing, my love. You're wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Until next time, folks, remember, in order to get into that beautiful glow and that wonderful heart, you've got to be willing to take the journey and go through the process in your own self-discovery, in allowing life to happen to you, but also in seeding the possibilities for tomorrow. Make sure you water them, make sure you nurture them, and make sure that you allow them to grow in the time they're meant to grow. Just walk forward, folks. Walk forward. Leave the crap behind. Walk forward. Until next time, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.